All right. Well, happy Friday to everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining the U.S. India Chamber of Commerce for today's discussion on STEM education and workforce development during COVID-19. This has been just an incredible time, clearly unprecedented, extraordinarily disruptive to sort of our normal way of living and doing business. And I think one industry that has been impacted very significantly in all of this has been our education industry, of course, with students working from home and parents kind of becoming the primary teachers for our students, along with the support of online classes and of course, check-ins by teachers. But this has raised both a number of challenges for our communities, but also a number of opportunities. And joining us today, we have Kate Maloney from the Infosys Foundation USA, as well as Connie Liu, who's one of their partners. And we also have Anita Gordy-Watkins, who's the Associate Vice Chancellor at the Dallas County Community College District, who oversees global programs. And then we have Mark Hayes, the Vice Chancellor of Dallas County Community College District, who also oversees workforce development initiatives and oversees a number of other functions at the college. So we are in for a treat today. Just to provide you with a brief overview of how our programming is going to work, we are going to have the Infosys Foundation USA kick off our conversation. Kate Maloney is going to provide us with an overview of the STEM programs that the Infosys Foundation USA has opened up to the community and the resources that are available for our education partners as well as families during this time. And then once we sort of wrap up that overview, Dr. Dinesh Bhatia, who will be joining us momentarily, he will be just asking a few clarifying questions. Dr. Bhatia is both a board member of the U.S. India Chamber. He is also the head of graduate programs in electrical engineering and computer engineering at the University of Texas at Dallas. And he is just a world-renowned expert in electrical and computer programming, and we're excited to have him just offer some clarifying thoughts here. And then we will switch gears a little bit and talk about workforce development and how our small businesses and medium businesses can take advantage of some of the workforce development opportunities available through our local community college system and help to continue enriching employees during this time and increasing their skill levels so that when we do come back online full speed, that we will have an upskilled workforce. So I think we're in for a great conversation today. So without taking up too much time, I want to hand it over to Kate Maloney to talk to us about what the Infosys Foundation USA has been up to. So Kate, it's all yours.
Oh, great. Thanks so much, Neil, and so nice to be with all of you. As Neil mentioned, I'd love to just give you an overview of who we are, and then I'd love to highlight some of the fun stuff that we have done recently in the Dallas-Fort Worth community, which is terrific, and then showcase the Pathfinders Institute. This is really where we will drill in, and at the end where I'll have a bit of a call to action for everyone to spread the word within the DFW community. So who are we? We are a foundation, private foundation, supported by Infosys, which is focused on increasing access to computer science and maker education for K through 12 teachers and students across the US. While we are national in focus, we do give a bit more of attention to make sure we are inclusive of under-resourced and underrepresented communities. And the idea is that we are investing in the technical skills and the confidence of teachers and students so they feel they can be creators of technology, not just consumers. Typical of many foundations, as you would expect, we can't do our work without partners. Partners who are the nonprofit organizations who are leading the charge in computer science and making across the US. They really help us reach those levels of impact both in rural and urban communities. And as is relevant to this call, we've also tried in the last year to give focus to where Infosys has a hub presence and make those connections a bit stronger in those communities and between Infosys employees, the foundation, and the community. So as I mentioned, I'm going to give you a lot of highlights about the Pathfinders Institute, but what's maybe more fun to hear is that we did just convene in our Richardson hub about 100, I say here 170 students. I think I was ambitious last night. We had about 107 students from the Dallas-Fort Worth community. Some of you who are on the call may recognize the high schools that we drew from. These students came to the Infosys hub for an afternoon, morning and afternoon program that was focused on career development and coding workshops. We did this in partnership with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation, and I mention it to you all not only contextually to know what we are doing in the community, but also to stress the inclusivity objectives of the foundation. We've really made a push to make sure we reach not just the urban settings that I mentioned, but also rural, and we are thinking about our English language learners and our Spanish speaking community across the US and how we can be helpful to them. The word has not come out yet, but it will. On May 15th, we will be announcing a program which we're really excited about for grades 1 through 5. And this is going to be a code as a second language program in Spanish. Similarly, in partnership with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation and Tinker, this program will enable teachers to bring coding in Spanish into the classroom. And of course, given the high percentage of English language learners in the Fort Worth, Texas area, we chose Fort Worth and North Carolina as our two pilot communities. So we're excited about that. The press release goes out in May, but some of the programming will gear up around Hispanic Heritage Month in the fall. Okay, so Pathfinders, this is where I want everyone paying attention. When you leave, you'll just dream the word Pathfinders Institute over and over. Pathfinders Institute is one of the signature programs of our foundation. So it was started about 3 years ago as a professional development, week-long intensive training. It started at Indiana University in Bloomington as a summer PD. This past year, we decided to expand that into a winter version. And we invited teachers to come to Providence, Rhode Island. You may ask, why Providence, Rhode Island? Back to the point I mentioned about where Infosys has hub cities and innovation centers, Providence is one of those. Complemented by that, the governor of Rhode Island said, come to our state. We're promoting computer science. We'd love to have you. And shockingly, we managed to get 256 teachers from across the country to come to Providence in February. You can see slightly through the photo, we gave them some super vibrant foundation hats in our orange and blue. And I think the enthusiasm that you see is an important one that Connie, our colleague, is going to elaborate on in a moment. But there are two statistics I put on this slide, and they're ones that I want you also to take away when you think of the Infosys Foundation USA and Pathfinders. And that is the almost 80% of the teachers coming from Title I schools. Out of the 256, 217 of them represented that student population. We had 41 states. Also speaks to, we hope, the draw and the popularity of the Pathfinders Institute as an opportunity for teachers to dig into computer science. And as you'll see at the bottom, 130 of them were non-computer science teachers. So the idea is that in districts across the nation, there's always a bit of a budgetary challenge with being able to place an exclusively computer science teacher into a public school system. But we are wanting to not only be proponents of that, but also recognize that other teachers who are delivering core curriculum can infuse their classroom with computer science and making. So we are committed to doing that. And I should mention, of the 41 states, Texas did send 30 teachers up to Providence in February. This transitions to our response to COVID. How? You can see this group of teachers in the photo. They've come, they've spent a number of days with us immersed in professional development. But we thought, how do we stay connected to these teachers throughout the year? How do we support them as a community and make sure they have access to content that helps them when they go back to their classrooms and they're struggling to keep the attention of their young students? So we launched a platform. We launched a platform called the Pathfinders Institute. And as of February, mid-February, that platform was intended for those teachers you see in the photo. But then COVID hit. And we realized that now, overnight, we had millions of children out of school and teachers who had to pivot to a virtual classroom. And added to that, as many of you on the call may know, parents who overnight had to become teachers of their own children. So in a very quick fashion, we thought, how do we pivot and be responsive to the needs of the US at this very challenging time? And how do we take what we've just designed for teachers and maybe open it to a wider community? So what you see here in an image is that platform. And if you indulge me for just a second, I'm switching over to the actual website platform that we designed. The intention of this, the Pathfinders Institute, is now that it serve teachers, parents, and students directly. What we wanted to put here was content that was free, that was accessible to all, for families, for students, and for teachers. And Connie, who's joined us, is going to dig in. You can see she is was one of the first partners to, I think our office closed on March 13th, and by March 16th, the phone was ringing from Connie and other partners to say, what can we do together? What we have on this site is content that is digestible in mini lesson form, in video form. And what you see here is a live events calendar. And this should be fun. If I click on it, I hope it all works well. Voila, it does. Okay, you'll see.
Kate, just letting you know that it's not showing the platform right now. It's still showing the PDF.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so
I believe if you go back to share screen and then just select Google Chrome or whatever browser you're using, it'll show the new one instead of the PDF.
Correct, yes.
Okay, bear with me just a moment. I will can you all see a calendar?
Perfect now.
Okay, this is, you're all so patient, as polite Texans with me here. Okay, so this is the site. As I was saying, what we have put here is content for those three groups I mentioned, for families, for students, and for teachers. And this content is coming from some of our existing professional development partners who work with us to do our Institute for Teachers, but then some of our other partners with whom we work throughout the year. As I was saying, we wanted this content to be dynamic in nature. What people will find who log on, and any and everyone is included, we ask you to please spread the word to your communities that this platform exists, that the content is there without cost. And I think I was mentioning on this dynamic calendar that we have, you'll see in the month of April, we were quite active, both with Connie's events as well as one of our other partners, Family Code Night, who hosted 10 family code nights for families that were in English, 5 that were in Spanish, and we had just over 3,000 people from across the US who participated in those. I'm starting on April because it's quite full. May is under development, as will be June, and as we talked about at the beginning of this call, the likelihood that we will be in a virtual setting or a hybrid model going back to school in the fall. We want this place to be dynamic. I think Neil shared with us before we kick this off that she's just signed up for the masterclass series. We've been talking as a team about hosting interesting and exciting people to do masterclass formats or other things that are dynamic for the site. And I'll mention 2 items before I turn it to Connie. You'll see here for families, as I mentioned, our commitment to English and Spanish. We have just uploaded a coding at home guide, which is in Spanish. And then we also have under the student section, some offerings for children who have a different way of learning. We work with one nonprofit who's explicitly focused on the autistic community, and we're trying to also provide some upcoming live lessons that will be for families with children who do have special needs. So this is the site, and I will now come back and do my fancy share screen. One moment, please. Connie, I want to turn to you, and the reason I've invited Connie, she is the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called Project Invent, which is focused on bringing maker-centered learning for social good to schools and communities across the US. She is the person I can turn to at any point to be on a panel discussion, or like this week, inviting her to the webinar. But she is a partner to us for the Pathfinders Institute. And as I mentioned, her content right now is sitting on our COVID response platform. So Connie, I turn it over to you, and I will try to gracefully move through your slides on your behalf.
Thanks for the introduction and for being the slide navigator, Kate. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining today. As Kate mentioned, I'm Connie. I'm the executive director for Project Invent. We're a national nonprofit empowering students across the country to invent technologies for social good. So students, if you can go to the next slide, Kate, are going through this process of learning design thinking, engineering, and entrepreneurship to be able to create technologies that are going to make an impact in their community. They identify problems that they care about, learn the engineering skills to build solutions, and then learn how to take that idea and launch it in their own community. So we've been able to have the lucky opportunity to work with Kate and the rest of the Infosys team on both Online Institute and for the Pathfinders Summer and Winter Institute. And luckily, when COVID-19 hit, Kate was so responsive to be able to ask for how we can create resources and be able to be more responsive for the teachers, students, and parents in our community. So in response to that, for the last month, we've been developing resources for at-home learning. A lot of the times people see making and coding as something that you need access to technologies for, but we try our best to keep it accessible and make sure that the type of activities we do are as low tech as possible that still deliver that same level of learning so we can still have that impact. So in the past month, we've been developing 3 webinars, 5 micromaker activities, and 3 invent at home videos for anyone to use. We've been developing everything from hour-long activities where students are learning how to map their own emotions throughout their day that we're calling the mood map to be able to teach those social-emotional learning skills while still touching on those maker activities as well. We've developed videos for elementary school students to learn how to read a book like If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, and then be able to learn how to creatively come up with solutions for needs and users that they learn from in their day-to-day reading anyway. And we've developed a webinar where we're able to take COVID-19 and a problem that a lot of students feel anxiety about and convert that anxiety into agency, really help them see that they can have agency in developing creative solutions using technology to solve some of the problems that they see around them. We also have an upcoming webinar next Tuesday, actually, on how do you facilitate social emotional learning and empathy online. So if you go to that tiny URL, tinyurl.com/PI, empathy, PI for Project Invent, you can join us for that webinar as well, and any teachers in your network. In addition, we've been partnered with Infosys for the past 2 Pathfinders to be hosting the Pathfinders Institute. And I think time and time again, I'm just wowed, and we keep coming back because the quality of teachers that come to Pathfinders just blows you out of the water. These are some of the most passionate teachers who, despite a lot of the times having no making or coding background, are coming out, spending a week with us to be able to upgrade their own classrooms and make sure their students have access to that 21st century learning and all of that really rich tech knowledge that normally they wouldn't have access to. So just the quality of teachers is incredible, and that's what always keeps us coming back. The way Pathfinders is run with 20 professional development providers and hundreds of teachers all in one place, where teachers can specialize in a certain skill. So for us, we do making and coding for social good, but there's teachers learning about how to run Bot Ball Challenge, or there's teachers learning from the Maker Ed Collective. But all of them can come together in the evenings to be able to network and learn from each other as well, and bring all of that rich knowledge from all of the professional development sessions all together. And oftentimes we hear such rave reviews from the teachers there of one of the absolute best trainings that they've ever had. One of our teachers even said she was about to retire, and coming to Pathfinders literally renewed her love for teaching again. And those are the type of things that we see all the time when we get to go to Pathfinders Institute twice a year. Our schedule for that usually is that week long. So we have on Monday, we bring in Jimmy, who's blind, and teachers get to speak with him over Skype, learn about what challenges he faces day to day, and that becomes what they design their solutions off of. So they come up with creative ideas for how they can help blind individuals and navigate their day to day. And teachers have developed everything from a sensing plate that can detect when the food gets to the edge of the plate, or modules for construction workers. One of the most disruptive things for a blind person if their standard route is different than what it was yesterday. So if construction workers have little Bluetooth modules that then ping the phone of the blind individual, then they're able to know that now the route is changed and they won't get into a dangerous accident. Teachers have been able to learn from identifying challenges around them and being able to use technology and harness that as a way for good, and usually engage students who are normally not going into tech because the standard robots and cars framing of tech isn't for them, but that social good and community impact is. So we teach those teachers how to use those technologies on the Wednesday. They get to pitch their inventions on the Thursday, and then we put our teachers back on for Friday, and they get to do that lesson planning for how they're going to integrate this back into their classroom. This year, we're bringing it virtual, and the applications are due in 2 weeks. So we encourage all teachers to be able to join us for that, to have that experience, even though a lot of us are still stay at home. And then lastly, I wanted to mention our impact in Dallas that luckily dovetails really well with our impact with Pathfinders, in that one teacher, Mary Nunley from the City Lab High School in Dallas, runs our year-long Project Invent program. So you can think of what Project Invent offers as tiers. We have a free curriculum and free resources that you can find on Online Pathfinders and our website. Then we have the trainings, such as Pathfinders Summer and Winter. And then we have a year-long program where we accept fellows, teacher fellows who run a year-long program where students are going through that invention process, and it all culminates in a big demo day where students get to pitch in Silicon Valley. And that's a picture on your bottom right there. Mary's one of those 30 teachers who run the year-long program across 14 states. And she was actually one of our Pathfinders Summer Institute alumni, was so inspired by that experience that she upgraded to doing the year-long fellowship as well. She has this incredible group of around a dozen students who are part of the program, who are spending the year inventing. And all of this really couldn't be possible without Infosys and their support. So I'll pass it back to Kate to wrap us up. But hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of the resources on Pathfinders Online Institute that we're creating, be able to join us for the Pathfinders Summer coming up in July with applications due in the next 2 weeks, and join our fellowship, which is the year-long version of this program.
Thanks so much, Connie. And yes, I will close hopefully within the time, Neil, that you have structured for us. I think, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, I want you walking away dreaming of the word Pathfinders, remembering Infosys Foundation USA and this brand of ours. The two calls to action: please help us make any and all of your communities aware that the platform exists for them. If there are individuals out there who you think would be dynamic offerers of masterclass instruction in computer science or making, we welcome a conversation with them to possibly offer some of the, help us fill the live events calendar over the coming months. But also I zero in and echo what Connie just said. For the teachers explicitly, who still have energy in them to pursue their own professional development after this wowzer of a spring. We are going to be gathering virtually July 19th through the 24th. The foundation has never done this before, but in light of COVID and current circumstances, and frankly, the fact that IU is not hosting anyone on site, we are doing this virtually. So by May 15th, we ask for your help to raise awareness in the districts within the Dallas-Fort Worth community to K through 12 teachers. They don't have to have any computer science background or maker education background. They need to have a heart to want to bring that to their students, and a belief that if their children and their students are going to be ready for the technology jobs of the future, they really need to invest in their digital literacy today. And we want to help them do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kate. I want to welcome Dr. Dinesh Bhatia just to ask any clarifying questions at this time. And then also I wanted to let our audience members know if you have questions for Kate or Connie on how you can engage with these resources, feel free to start adding your questions into the Q&A box. We will actually address a lot of the audience questions towards the end of the program, but I just wanted to see if Dr. Bhatia had anything for us before we move on and talk about workforce development. And then we'll come back at the end of the program and answer all of the different questions that our audience may have.
So I have actually two, one clarification from Kate, and I also have a question from Connie. The first one is, Kate, that I went and looked at this website, Pathfinders. It's very nicely organized website for families, students, and teachers. And if my understanding is correct, what you're doing is you're bringing in various resources that are available, and you're connecting people to, say, for example, the Connie's Project Invent, and likewise other resources that come from various other online existing platforms that are already in place. Is that correct?
Well, a bit of a mix. The partners who we've invited to offer free content, have done so through some grant making that we have given. So Connie's program, the content explicitly has been designed for our platform. She showed some mini lessons and some videos and webinars. The funding for that has come from our foundation exclusively for our platform. Her organization and the other organizations you see do go on and continue their work, but they've been invited to do things that are signature products for our platform, and we hope that will draw attention to our platform, you know, to have a unique offering that they can't find elsewhere.
And Connie, I have a question. This is something that I actually struggle with, that now everyone has gone online, and it happened very, very quickly, and where everybody is operating on these virtual platforms. I went to the Project Invent website, and you have some very nice, interesting, exciting projects. A lot of these projects actually require some kind of hands-on building kind of experience. I just want to hear from you, your reflection that in light of this COVID-19, how does that experience of that makerspace get translated into, or what tools do you have for making it go virtual?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And a lot of it is helping students understand what level of final product we want. Usually when they have access to the full suite of Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and a full computer lab, they're able to, in a full makerspace, they're able to build higher fidelity products. But when they're at home, they probably don't have a 3D printer at home. They maybe have a computer. We expect them to still be coming up with creative ideas. You still have your brain with you wherever you go, and you can still have that innovative potential. So we do the whole design thinking process still, but we might just expect them to deliver a product that has a little less of the like 3D printed parts to it, and maybe sketch it out instead, or make it out of clay, and teach them how to use what they do have around them to still build their ideas and make those tangible and make those possible. And I would even say that it pushes our students to be even more creative, because as we all know, whenever we have constraints, that actually helps us learn how to be more resilient and innovative. And we really convey that to our teachers when they implement design thinking from home.
Can I just jump in here to your point, Dinesh? Connie, 3 or 4 of the examples that you put on, one of them used a simple tennis ball to convey a design thinking concept. Another used just a sponge from the kitchen to get kids thinking. And we really wanted to be sensitive to some of the statistics that we have heard, where many children in their home environment don't necessarily even have a full suite of artistic materials, crayons and clay and others. So Connie in particular, as a partner of ours, has tried to really offer the unplugged, or the sensitivity to include children and their families who have more limited devices or materials around them.
Okay, so yeah, this is interesting. I will make a remark, and I think in the interest of time, we will move on, and I want to hear from others also. But whenever I'm looking at learning, I do distinguish very deeply between doing a project, say building a robot or building something which you feel good about, and also trying to learn the skills and building an expertise which becomes far more useful going forward in your life. And I hope when we hear from the Dallas College District also, some of those thoughts will come in, where the effort is more towards actually building the expertise and skills than just perhaps doing a single project.
Well, thank you all for that very informative presentation. These are incredible resources that I know are extremely valuable to our community. I'd like to go ahead and move on to the second part of our program. We have joining us today, Mark Hayes, again, the Vice Chancellor at Dallas County Community College District, and Anita Gordy-Watkins, the Associate Vice Chancellor of Global Programs, to share with us a little bit about how our business community can also tap into skills development and learning resources to keep employees' skill levels advancing during this time. So Mark, I want to, without too much further ado, hand it over to you. And I thought, one thing that Anita mentioned, which, is extremely relevant, is the relationship between Infosys, the company, and Dallas County Community College District. So I'd love for you to touch on that relationship as well, because that relationship in part is why all of us are here together today with the U.S. India Chamber of Commerce. So I'd love for you to touch on that.
Well, absolutely, sure. And thank you very much. It's great to be here. Understand a trying time for everyone, and certainly the Dallas County Community College District is no exception there. And as far as the relationship with Infosys, I'll let Anita talk more about that later on. But yeah, this has been a budding relationship that has been, happening probably for a couple of years now. First, we were contacted by the Infosys representatives about our students in IT programs, looking at associate degree IT students moving into very good positions in Infosys. And we've had conversations and getting Infosys representatives into our classrooms, and also even conversations about apprenticeships in information technology, which is kind of a new area. When we think of apprenticeships, we think of manufacturing, construction, things along that line, but it's really starting to bud like in the IT area. But I'll let Anita talk more about our relationships with Infosys here in a moment. It's one we treasure, we value, and I just see it growing from here on out. Some of the things at the Dallas County Community College District, as I said, it's a new day for us. We're in the middle of going from 7 accredited institutions to just one single accreditation, which we think will make our operations much more streamlined, make it much easier to do business with us, because with 7 individual colleges out there, you had 7 different business process systems, 7 different HR systems, 7 different purchasing systems. It was all just kind of made it very difficult to do business with us. So we're hoping that the accrediting agency will approve the single accreditation later on in the summer. And we're very excited about that and about the opportunities it's going to provide, not only to our students, but to our employer customers as well. One of the things that I always try to emphasize is that at the Dallas County Community College District, we have one customer. Our customer are our employers, our businesses, because they provide most of our funding through ad valorem taxes. Students are the product that we turn out. And as all of you know, that anytime you turn out defective products, you're not going to be in business very long. And so it is our job to turn out students that are ready to go to work, that meet employer needs, that if they choose to transfer to four-year institutions, are fully prepared to do so. Some of what we had to do as this crisis came upon us, we had to convert 65,000 students who were in face-to-face classes to online learning. 28,000 individual courses had to be converted to online delivery method. And it wasn't just students. There was a lot of faculty who had never taught online courses before that had to be trained to teach online. Technology needs. Many of our students are severely economically disadvantaged. They didn't have the technology. They didn't have internet access at home. Fully 12% of our student population is classified as homeless. So it's very difficult to make that kind of transition. But I'm very proud to say that through all of this, our enrollment for this spring semester is 1% higher than it was last spring. So credit to our to our folks that have done just a tremendous job in getting this transition to happen. So as we go to online learning, it presented some challenges in the fact that a lot of our students couldn't participate in laboratories, and particularly what we call the wet labs, the biology labs, the chemistry labs, things like that. And that's still an ongoing issue. How do we resolve that? We're thinking it may be the middle of July at the earliest before these students can even get back into a laboratory situation on a campus. That's going to be difficult. We also have a lot of our community programs, for example, that come under my auspices. We had, for example, had a welding program who were training homeless veterans at the Veterans Resource Center in South Dallas to become certified welders. That had to stop simply because we weren't allowed to have any of that face-to-face contact. Youth Village, where we trained young people in welding technologies, that had to stop. So, you know, when can we get back in those face-to-face type situations? Too early to tell yet. But, you know, for the summer, all of our classes are remaining online. We're fully anticipating going back to face-to-face instruction in the fall, but that could change in a moment, as we've all seen here in the last few weeks of dealing with this crisis. So specifically, what have we done in workforce to take some of our coursework online? We've partnered with a lot of our training vendors, also with our college curriculum that we have. We've put what we want are programs that we can put online that people, while they're at home, can get that quick training, get industry certifications that are recognized industry certifications so that they're able to go to work immediately. Things like web applications development, totally online course. Now we have things like production process technicians for people working in manufacturing plants, advanced manufacturing, mechatronics, even EMT basic certification can be done online now. Customer service representatives, call center specialists, huge demand for those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and you know, surprisingly, pay pretty substantial wages. So what we're doing is looking at that, examining what's out there and what the labor market demand is. We have a very sophisticated labor market intelligence center that uses artificial intelligence among a lot of other tools that helps us identify trends in the labor market. And as you might guess, that's been turned upside down on its head in the last 30 to 60 days. But the fact remains there's still thousands of job openings out there that individuals can take advantage of. One of the things that we're seeing is that individuals who have lost their job and have applied for unemployment compensation, Texas is one of the leading states to where those individuals can stay home and draw unemployment and make more money than if they go back to work. And that was very purposeful on the part of the administration to do that. They wanted people to stay home. So with that extra $600 per week that the federal government has put in on unemployment compensation, we think it's a grand opportunity for people to learn new skills, to enhance current skills while they're sitting at home and not in the workforce. So that's what we're encouraging to do, students to do, is to take advantage of this time to enhance current skills or learn new skills that makes them more competitive once they do go back into the workforce. As far as small businesses are concerned, our small business development centers, our Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program come under my shop, and it's been an experience. It truly has. The number of calls and assistance that we provided through our small business development centers has gone up 200% from the same time last year. Our business specialists are available by telephone to talk with small businesses. As you might guess, the rush to apply for the small business assistance through the Paycheck Protection Program or through the disaster loan program has been immense. A couple of weeks ago, one of our alumni from our Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program was on the press conference, daily press conference with the governor. And at that time, Goldman Sachs announced $50 million for Texas to assist small businesses And that application process was going through one of our partners through Lift Fund. Well, in less than 24 hours, that money was gone. And it shows the tremendous demand that's been out there for the funding. And even this latest round of current federal assistance, they think will not be enough. But our staff and our small business development centers are helping individuals through that application process, help them come up with plans to help their businesses survive during this time period. So it's been heroic effort on their part in their assistance with these small businesses. One of the things that we hope to have up next week on our website is 2 courses that will be absolutely free of charge to whether they're workers or small businesses, because we know that the way that we do business has changed forever. It will never go back to the way it was. So we are putting 2 courses online called COVID-19 Returning to Work, and then also for employers, COVID-19 Employer Workplace Guidance on how you prepare your workplace under this new normal, getting people back into the workforce. How do you take care of people? How do you make sure that the workplace is as safe as it possibly can be for them, given this current environment? Those will be up next week. Now, where can you find this stuff? Well, we are working right now to continually post our resources. Our standard website, dcccd.edu, that's dCCCD.edu. You'll go to that website, and at the very top, there's a link for My Community Resources. You can click on that, and you'll see a lot of resources there for students. Not so many for employers right now. That website is really getting refined and coming into play, going live next week. But for our small business development centers, ntsbdc.org will get you to the small business assistance page that will get you the help you need there. One of the things too I wanted to talk to businesses about is that, and we hear this a lot, and you as business owners, you live this every day. Applicants who come in may have the technical skills that you need, but their foundational skills, sometimes referred to as soft skills, aren't what you would like for them to be. We have a tool, and when you go to that My Community Resources page, you will see it. It's called Jobtimize. And basically what this does is this measures a job applicant's fit for the job. You can look and see if their technical skills are there, but this will help determine, does this applicant fit the job I have? What we're wanting to do is that we're working, and we want to take 15 employers, and we want to offer this service to them free of charge, through the end of August, to where they can, because we want to see how this thing works with employers as well. We've seen it work with job applicants. You determine the characteristics, those soft skill, foundational skills that you want to see in a job applicant, and through this assessment process, it will rank the job applicants in order of the skills that you deem most desirable. This has been thoroughly vetted by the EEOC, by the Department of Labor. So you're safe there on any legal challenges. When it's been taken to court, they've won every time. So it's a tool that we want to be able to offer employers that will give them the opportunity to help refine and basically streamline their job application process. So, I'd ask you if you're interested in that to please reach out to Anita or I, and we will be happy to make that happen for you. Like I say, we can take 15 employers as this trial run to make that work. And you will see a link for that on that My Community Resources page. Otherwise, it's been a very busy time for us at the Dallas County Community College District, soon to be known under the one certification as Dallas College. So we hope that you will work with us. Let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what services you need that we're not doing right now. And we will do our best to try to make that happen. One of the things to consider as well, and in closing here, we're working with the state of Texas on an initiative called 300,000 certifications in 300 days. to where we want 300,000 Texans to earn certifications that are relevant to the labor market. And the state of Texas is very interested in this, and the Dallas County Community College District will be the driver behind this to get this rolled out across the state. And of course, we want Dallas to have its fair share of those as well, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But we feel it's that critical that people enhance their skills, learn new skills in order to compete in this economy. So with that being said, I would like to turn this over to Anita and let her talk about some of our global initiatives, our partnership with Infosys. So Anita, please, anything I've missed, please feel free to fill it in.
Sure, sounds good. Well, so as Neil mentioned, my area of the district is working with global programming and global economic development. This was an initiative that came about 5 years ago as Chancellor May was looking at the nature of the Dallas metropolitan area. Obviously, as we all know, it's a very global environment. And so if we look at what the district does, it should be a reflection of what's going on in our greater community. So we started looking at what that means in terms of globalization and how we can be a significant resource and a player in that. So, so what our area does is we work with global companies, we work with chambers, we work with economic development people, site selectors, to try to align and match up resources that we have available through the district to be a resource. So, and in turn, it allows us to have a better understanding of that global environment so that we are able to infuse that into our curriculum and better prepare our students to work in that sort of environment. So sometime back, as we started working with Infosys, as they were entering into the Dallas market, some of the types of resources that Mark was talking about were ones that we started making them more aware of. So, you know, it was wonderful to get a chance to kind of work with them early on. Obviously, there is a significant need for talent. And so there were many short-term types of needs that we were trying to become aware of and align current students with, as well as maybe alumni that were maybe a good fit for jobs and openings that were going to be coming about through Infosys. But what was nice was we weren't just looking at short-term types of opportunities. We were also looking at long-term. How could we partner with Infosys to provide resources for them? And what were the implications for our curriculum and our programs? And so we were able to involve many representatives of Infosys to work with academic deans, faculty, students. We started looking at what students were available that could be of use with, and even, and one thing I might have Mark talk about in a little bit, our apprenticeship programs, internships, co-ops. That was something we also started exploring and taking a look at. The other thing is it was a very two-way street and has been, in that Infosys is one of the companies that is willing to come in and help us to get the message out. So we have professional development opportunities, advisory committees. They've been willing to come in and speak and work with our staff and our administrations and our faculty. So that sort of thing is very helpful to us as we're trying to continually do needs analysis across the area, with whether it's with individual companies and corporations or sectors of business. So that's very helpful. So that's just kind of a little bit of an overview there. I might turn it back to Mark and let him talk a little bit. We have a very significant presence in apprenticeship programs across the district. So that I'll turn that back.
Yeah, sure. Apprenticeships are an area that our chancellor wants to see as a very, very huge point of emphasis. You know, I consider what we do kind of a three-legged bar stool. You have credit programs, you have non-credit programs, and you have apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are an area, we have about 30 apprenticeship programs now with over 2,000 apprentices. We recently received a $12 million Department of Labor grant to train 7,500 apprentices in healthcare occupations, not only in Dallas-Fort Worth, but across the nation. We have national partners in this grant, like the American Hospital Association, HCA, which is Medical City, and a couple of other national partners that we can scale this thing across the country in areas where you don't think of normal for apprenticeships. We've identified 55 different occupations in the healthcare industry, and it's not just clinical positions. It's not just nurses and respiratory therapists. It also involves non-clinical positions, and a huge area of that is health IT, for example. Certifications to help healthcare facilities with their IT needs. That's a big part of this. Training managers in healthcare facilities, for example, is another huge area. So it really runs the gamut as far as healthcare is concerned. And we're very excited about that. We also are partnerships with San Jacinto Community College, Houston Community College, in apprenticeships in the IT field specifically. We've got funding to fund 400 IT apprentices through the same Department of Labor program. So think of apprenticeships as they're your employees first. Do they have to, is there some classroom training involved? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But what we found is that companies that employ an apprenticeship model have a much higher retention rate of employees. They hang around longer, they work for you longer. The ROI on an apprentice is about 18 months. And we have found that apprentices are staying on the job much, much longer than that, certainly much longer than employees that you hire off the street who didn't have an apprenticeship. So it's an area that we're expanding rapidly. It's a role that community colleges are relatively new in, but it's one that we feel very excited about, and one we think is really going to take off more as we get into this in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Well, thank you all so much. We're coming up, we've just crossed the hour mark on our webinar. And I know we've had a few questions pop up down in our Q&A box, which Kate has taken the time to answer. So just a couple of clarifying questions, Mark and Anita, I wanted to ask. So for the 400 IT apprentices, I know that is of potential value to many of our companies. How can companies go about engaging with you for that program? Anita, do they need to come through you for that, or Mark, should they come directly to you?
Well, I think they'll come and just come to me, and then I will get them to the right people. And of course, the ways of doing business are a little bit different. But for example, in our healthcare apprenticeships, we have not lost anyone. The healthcare apprentices are still working. We can work with your company to determine how best to set up an apprenticeship, especially in this environment. And then when things return to a more sense of normalcy, how that can work there. We have a team that will be glad to sit down with you and describe apprenticeships, that handles the federal paperwork, that we act really as an intermediary between the company and the Department of Labor. So they can contact me, and I'll be sure to get them into the to the right place so that we can certainly help them and give them information about that.
And we may need to just do another webinar on that. I may tap you to do that, because I think that can be of real value for many of our members. And then you also mentioned a couple of classes for businesses as they think about reopening around COVID-19. So I'm wondering now, just to clarify, those classes are open to the public?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to have those open up, and they should be up next week. We're putting the final stages on them. We have to get them into our online platform, but that My Community Resources page on our website, we'll have them there. But then, of course, if you want, I'll be happy if you want to get it out to your membership. I'm more than happy to give the links to those, when they do become available, because they, like I say, they're just short 15 to 20-minute courses, but we feel they provide a lot of valuable information. And we've worked with one of our training partners on this, and we're just now trying to get them into our system so they're accessible to the public, but they will be free of charge.
Yes, we will be happy to share those links out, because so many small businesses right now are trying to figure out what is the best way to reopen safely. And I think that can be extremely valuable for them. We'd love to share that resource out.
We'll be happy to.
So I want to make sure that we take time and answer any audience questions that we might have. It looks like we've just gotten a new question in. So I've got Dr. Ram Dantu here. He is a very decorated professor at the University of North Texas in the engineering department. And he says, the Texas Higher Education Board has just approved a seamless pathway for AS students to, I think this is to a Bachelor's of Science in Cybersecurity, which is ABET accredited. And this is especially suited for DCCD students to do a 2-year Bachelor's in Cybersecurity. Given that there are over 500,000 unfilled cybersecurity positions, I think the question here is there a way to collaborate on that, maybe between UNT and DCCD?
Oh, absolutely. And he's exactly right. We've partnered with the International Consortium of, or I should say the International, and I'll get this wrong, but you'll get the idea, the International Consortium of Minority Cybersecurity Professionals, and I've had several sessions with them. We have, for example, a digital forensics program at Richland College, and frankly, they told us we need to up our game in this area. Digital forensics is great, but it's after the fact. They want to know how we can work to protect those attacks from even occurring in the first place. So absolutely, we would love to talk more with UNT about this, and perhaps some of our people already have in our academic side of the house, but we would certainly want to do it. We'd love that pathway, and this is particularly important from what my friends, for example, at Lockheed Martin tell me, that when it comes to Department of Defense contracts, for example, Department of Defense wants everyone to have a bachelor's degree. And so that's certainly something that we have to partner on to help our students get on that pathway to get that bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. And we're very happy to work with UNT or any institution when it comes to that.
Great. So I think we have one more question here. I'm going to go ahead and answer this. Dr. Bhatia, anything else that we need to elicit from our esteemed panel here before we jump off the call? I think you're on mute.
Yes. Something that I will direct towards Mark and Anita is, I think everyone agrees that we got into this COVID situation, and when we come out, the normal is not going to be the same normal. It's going to be a new normal. And there will be a lot of new skills that may be needed. I am just trying to find out, what are your thinking in terms of training the workforce post-COVID state?
Well, I think, Dinesh, it's going to be, as you said, a different world. How do we, for example, I think that this whole area of using artificial intelligence that we currently use for our labor market analytics is going to take on a whole new area in a lot of academic areas. And the fact that we've got to be able to, how do we recognize situations like this earlier? How do we get people's mindset to change in a lot of ways to take this more seriously? It was very interesting. I was at a meeting in Florida in January, and one of our vendors that we use extensively in our labor market center is a company called Esri, that is a GIS mapping company. And I was talking to them in January, and they said, this is going to be big. And at that time, of course, we were just seeing, the spread in China, and they were doing mapping and using artificial intelligence to show how this was going to grow quickly. And, we didn't recognize it that quickly at the Dallas County Community College District. Once we did, we responded, I think, very well. But as we've seen, whether it's government, private business, this just really caught a lot of people by surprise when it didn't need to. So I think training people to recognize the world we live in now and how these things are a threat. I just saw the latest number of people count just a little bit ago who died of COVID in the United States, and it's exceeded the number of individuals that were killed in the United States in the Vietnam War. And that was a multiple year conflict from the early 60s and until the early 70s, and so we've surpassed that in just a matter of a few weeks. So I think recognizing the seriousness of it and embedding that in our thought processes, not necessarily curriculum, but in our thought processes as human beings, is going to be very critical.
Thank you. Neil, how are we doing on time?
We're okay. We could probably take one more question, but I think we'll need to wrap up soon. So I'm just checking the Q&A box. It looks like we're good, actually. So I just want to say thank you to all of our panelists. It was definitely a very, we do have one more question here. How do we, okay. Yeah, so the question is, how do we partner with Infosys and who do we approach? I would say please contact the U.S.-India Chamber of Commerce with your request, and we would be happy to help get you connected there. Thank you so much. So with that, I just want to thank all of our panelists. Kate, thank you for taking the time and for opening up this incredible resource to the community. I think, this is just so needed right now, and it's really heartwarming and encouraging to have, just so many entities and individuals and organizations just coming together for the betterment of our community during this time. I think that's just been really incredible, and this is a phenomenal resource for people to use. Connie, thank you so much for the work you're doing to create just meaningful projects with so much thought behind them to make them accessible to students of all different socioeconomic backgrounds. I think that's really awesome. Mark, thank you for your continued leadership on the workforce development front. DCCD has been an incredible partner, and I know Dr. Eggleston was on the call. I'm not sure if she's still there, but she's been a phenomenal college president partner for the Chamber, and in particular working with a lot of immigrant communities, students, and a lot of the challenges they face there. So we've had a great partnership with the district, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. And of course, Anita, we're always grateful for your partnership on the global front, working together to build out corporate relationships, and then also helping to train the workforce as we bring in new companies from around the world. So thank you all so much for your time this morning. Dr. Bhatia and I, on behalf of our board, really appreciate you. And Dr. Bhatia, of course, thank you as well for your time. I know you've had a super busy schedule.
Quickly say something?
Oh, please, yes.
Kate, I am going to reach out. I will talk to Neil. UTD has tremendous amount of resources in terms of the outreach as well as UTD design program. And some of those you may want to connect with the Pathfinder.
Terrific.
Yes,
that's great.
And I think,
thank you.
Jay Virasamy, who handles a lot, I think he's on the call today. So hopefully, I saw that he was registered, but I think he's there. So hopefully we will have just this is meant for the community. We wanted to make sure everybody from the community gets access to these resources. Dr. Bhatia, I would be happy to work with you on helping to get that out through the various channels. We can do that together, certainly. And I know Dr. Dantu is also on the call with UNT. We had a number of school districts on the call: Coppell ISD, CFB ISD, Dallas ISD. the Humanist Academy, one of our newer educational partners. And so we look forward to helping spread the word about these wonderful resources and programs. So thank you all so much for everything you're doing, and I hope you're all safe. And thank you to all of our participants, our chamber members. We really appreciate your participation. Thank you for the great questions and for the great work that you are doing. We really appreciate that too. And oh, the Perot Museum also on the call today. So another great resource for students and families, and they've been providing a lot of online tools as well for families during this time related to science. So thank you all so much for joining us. Please stay safe and have a great weekend. And if the chamber can do anything for you during this time, I should definitely say that. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are here to be a resource for you, to support you and your business during this time. You can reach us at info, I-N-F-O, at usicoc.org. We also have a contact page on our website where you can go and reach out to us that way as well. So we're here for businesses, educational institutions. Let us know how we can help. And if there was anything in this call where you want to refer back to the content, a recording of this webinar will be made available on the Chamber's YouTube channel at www.usicoc.org, and then you can click on YouTube from our website, or you can just go to YouTube and search for U.S. India Chamber of Commerce DFW, and the recording should be up this afternoon. If not, at the latest, it'll be up on Monday. So please look out for that. And then also you can find links to all of our webinars that we've been hosting in our chamber newsletter, which goes out every Tuesday and every Thursday with information and resources for businesses during COVID-19. So thank you all so much for joining us. Please stay safe. Have a great weekend. And please let us know if there's anything we can do. Thank you all.
Thank you.